Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending. We're just going to give it about another minute so some other people can join us. So just be patient. Thank you.
Be patient? Really?
Yeah.
Have to look up that word. This font, as long as we're not talking about anything serious, this font that we use on our corporate template is weird. It's Barlow is the font. And look at like between the F and the O of follow. There's extra space. The T and the R of training, the U and the P of up, the S and the O of software, the F and the I. And yet it doesn't do it between the O and the R of origin. It doesn't do it between the M and the I of Michael. It's a strange font. I know everybody's interested in that.
It's a good thing it's not a webinar about fonts. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Spectra Geospatial Origin Field Software Next Level Training. My name is Michael Yates. I'm a regional manager for Trimble Spectra. And with us today, we also have Pete Mestemaker, who's also a channel manager as well. We have Joe Sass, our field engineer, who will be conducting this webinar. Today's a 1-hour training. Please remember, this is a training seminar. It's not a marketing or sales. So if you have any sales questions or anything, please email your regional manager for that. You can type questions in. We'll answer them throughout the webinar. And right now, I'm going to pass the mic over to Pete, and we'll get started. Pete.
Thanks, Mike. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar this morning. So Origin is a new field software solution available from Spectra Geospatial. It's available on both the Windows 10 and Android platforms, which provides you with a future-proof solution. It supports Spectra GNSS receivers, robotic and mechanical total stations, and is available as both a permanent or as a subscription license. Now I'd like to turn it over to our evangelist, Mr. Joe Sass.
Great description of me. I really do believe I am the Spectra Geospatial evangelist. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Mike. These words that we use sometimes in our business move around sometimes. And when we say delivered in both permanent and subscription-based, permanent, we also use the word perpetual. So just to be clear, the perpetual is or permanent is the model that we've used for years and years. And moving forward, you're going to have the option of doing the subscription-based model, which could make a lot of sense, keeps you up to date, lower entry costs, etc. So again, as Mike Yates said, this is not a sales presentation. It's more about this stuff here. Getting into the functional levels of the software and what it does and where things are and how it works. And 2 weeks ago, we went through the basics of the software, getting you to the place where you could measure or stake out a point or a line. And today, I just want to go into, maybe open up the hood of the software and take a look at some of the deeper things without getting too technical, but being technical at the same time. So let's go at it. A few of the slides from 2 weeks ago, I will be presenting again, just because I think they're important to understand. And this is one of those. So this is the way that you can purchase the software. There are basically 4 different functional levels of the software. And I don't need to read these for you. If you have questions about what this slide is actually telling you, please type those in. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I really like whoever put this slide together. I did not, but I like the way it presents the ideas. It's no secret that Spectra is owned by Trimble. So when you see a Ranger 7, that could be a TSC 7. Obviously, when you see a Mobile Mapper 60, that could be a etc. So really what we'd like to emphasize is that when you're selling Origin, you put it on a Spectra device. And That's the message there, and these are the officially supported devices as of today for the software. There are different types of licenses and maybe what I'll call non-licenses. So you have either perpetual or timed, so that's permanent or subscription, I guess is another way of saying that first bullet there. If you install Origin with no license, you install the software on your Ranger 7 or your Ranger 5, you will have full functionality for 30 days, but it will be limited to 30 points. After that 30 days, it becomes a simulator. You can view jobs, but you can't really hook up to any instruments, and you can't go beyond the 30 points. It becomes a simulator where you can run in a GPS simulation mode. And then we have the PC emulator. Deep sigh there, because emulator and simulator are used somewhat interchangeably throughout the documentation. And so I want to be ambiguous about these terms right now because we don't use them consistently. So we'll call it a PC emulator, and that does allow that you can put it on your Dell PC or your Dell laptop, and you can actually hook up to instruments, etc. What I'm calling housekeeping, you have 3 or 4 major file directories on the hard drive of your device that you might need to know about, and one of them is this geodetic data, which is in the Spectra geospatial data geodetic data directory. And here you'll find your geoid models, and if you have national frameworks or local grid shifts. Where I live, I'm going to be in one of these places that will have to have a distortion model because I'm in Southern California and my home moves 4 centimeters northwest every year. I'm right on a plate boundary, so all of these types of data sets or parameter files are in the geodetic data directory. We have a projects directory. Again, I show you where it's located on either the Windows 10 or the Android device. And I refuse to read these things for you. It is nice that you can have multiple languages installed. So if you're in one of these regions like Northeast Canada or Southern California, where you have multiple languages spoken regularly, you can switch between the two. I will say though that the help file, the help menu, which is very important to this program, is only in English. Then we have the system files. How is the program going to be configured? The antenna definitions, your feature definition. You notice that that's an FXL file, so that's the same as Survey Pro did. Your style sheets and templates, and we'll get into that a little bit more. I talked about what style sheets and templates did 2 weeks ago, but I'll actually show you where they're at today. Okay, so favorites and functions. Let's just go through the software. Right here, when you go to the main menu, you have your favorites there. You see it's mostly an empty list right now with only review jobs, and it's assigned to the COGO. And if you want to put anything into the favorites, you hit this gold star or you hit the white star. You can assign it to a favorite function so it shows up in that menu, like I've done there, or you can actually also assign it to a F key. And you notice that almost all of these pages have the option to assign a favorite. So here I've said, let's make auto connect on the F1 key. If I wanted to have connections, I could just assign it right here. And you notice that the star turns gold, and that means it's now a favorite of mine. So if I go back and toggle other pages that are interesting to me, I can turn those on, and you'll notice now that I have more than just review jobs. Notice that I've got extra pages, so I can create a new group if I want. And I'm not sure, there must be a limit here. I've got example 1 as one of my favorite pages, and here I've said example 2. Example 2 is unpopulated, but I can put in default locations that the software developers have decided are important to most users. And so as you can see here, I've got 6 favorites that were automatically assigned based on just default modes. I can make my favorite pages automatically switch so that when I'm using GPS, I get one set of pages, and when I use total station, I get another set of pages. So it's very convenient in this way. And any of these functions can also be deleted. They can be moved around by using the arrow keys, etc. So here you can see I'm going to edit these, and on my function keys, I don't have anything assigned under example 1, but I could. Under example 2, go down, see what we've got here. Stakeout points I don't want, so I can delete these as I want. I could also highlight these and move them around with the arrow keys that you see on the bottom. Under the function keys, it's dependent upon the data controller that you're using as to how many function keys you have. This happens to be done on my laptop, which has F1 through F12. So I've got many F keys. If you're on a mobile mapper 60, I think you only get 4 function keys to assign. So those are the favorites and functions. Let's talk about emulator and simulator. Again, I'm unsure how to use these words. So the emulator for the desktop is usually provided to sales and support people. It allows you from your PC that you're using on a daily basis, usually a laptop, it allows you full functionality of the software. It's not in the Trimble Oracle system, but it's a locally generated license. I can do that for you. Sue McLean can do that for you. You can go through your dealer rep. This is not available to end users. This is only for people engaged in the commercial side of this business, and it allows full functionality. In addition, it allows you to simulate a device. So you can be on a Ranger 7, or you can be on a Ranger 5, or you can be in portrait, or you can be in landscape. So it's a really nice feature. It also allows multiple versions of the software to be installed, so that if you're a support person and you're supporting someone that has a software that was 3 generations earlier, you can have these multiple generations installed. You don't have to uninstall to update. You can install Origin using the Spectra Geospatial Installation Manager. You can install it with no license at all, and it will run fully operational for 30 days with a 30-point limitation. It will allow you to connect to instruments, but after 30 days, it goes into strictly a simulation mode. And then you have the GNSS emulator or simulator. So if you're running a Windows 10 platform like the ST10 or the Ranger 7, you can go to the help menu, about. I'm sorry, not the help menu, the about. And under about, you will find on the F key the ability to choose the device you're going to simulate, and then it goes into, it gives you a GNSS emulation. It does not have a total station emulator yet. Inside the software, and you can find these, I highlight the fact that the help menu, first off, the help menu. So if you go to the drop-down menu, you arrow down to the bottom, you go to help. This is the place where that is updated the most. This is, instead of writing application notes or providing additional documentation, the product manager really believes that the help portal here, which is an HTML-based context-sensitive interface, is where he keeps it up to date the most. And so here you can see I typed in shortcuts, and the software shows me what the various shortcuts are, provided that you have a keyboard, right? This isn't going to necessarily work on a or as easily on a mobile mapper 60. Transfers, file transfers, import, export. It's inside Survey Pro. We had specific menus that did this for you. And inside Origin, it's a bit different. And so let's go through what that looks like here. I'm going to open up a project. Sorry about that. I'm opening up. I'm creating a new. I'm inside the Origin 102, which is today's presentation. I don't have to create a job from a template, I can import a job XML file. And here you see I've got one. It's going to take that job XML and import it, but I still need to give it a job name, an origin job name. We'll call it Biella 2021 update. So that's one way to get data in, is just to have a job XML file. And when you do that, you need to understand elevation because of the scaling factor. And so here you can see that back in 2018, when I did this, I used the 2012 model, Geoid model, and now I'm using the updated 2018. I'm going to assign a coding file. This is the same as it was in Survey Pro. It's a global feature XML file, so an FXL file. And here at the job level is where I get my import and export options. It's not a separate menu as it was in Survey Pro. It's built in at that level, and I can define what I'm going to bring in and what fields represent what. I can browse on my local hard drive for a file that I want to import. So here I'm going to import a text file, and I've defined what the field parameters look like. Export, you have more options than on the import side. Export is defined by the style sheets, and style sheets are there are many. So here you can see GDM area, GDM job. But if I don't have the file format that I want, I can add more, and I'll show you how to do that. So here, I'm going to exit the program. And I'm going to go to File Explorer on my Windows 10 interface. And here you can see I'm in the System Files folder. I want a GPS calibration report. That's not in the program right now. So here you can see it comes in alphabetically right after the GDM selections. So let's open up Origin again. And now, if I want to go to export, I've done it back there, but go back to the job level where I've got my export choices. And if I drop this box down, you'll notice that I now have the GPS calibration report. So all I did was add the XSL file. And the XSL files, there are plenty of style sheets available both on the Trimble and the Spectra geospatial websites. You can just type in Spectra geospatial style sheets, and you'll be taken to a website that has a bunch of these, maybe 50 to 100 of these XSL files that can be loaded into the directory so that they become available as export report options. There's another way to import and export data, and that's using the Trimble Connect portal. I thought about putting it into the previous slide, but it's pretty much a standalone, and it's this icon here. If you see I'm signed in as Joe Sass at spectraprecision.com, the fact that the icon is not grayed out means that I'm signed in. If I were not signed in, then I would not be in color. That icon would not be in color. You can see here on my Trimble Connect website, I don't have a project called Origin 102. Okay, but I want to synchronize that. So I can upload this file using the North American server. I can upload this file to our North American server. And now Origin 102 as a project is in the web. And you can see here a little quirk in the software. I have to do that twice to actually get the check mark to indicate that it's there. And now, just because I've uploaded the project does not automatically mean the job gets uploaded. So now I'm uploading the job to Trimble Connect or Spectra Geospatial Connect. If I hit the refresh button here, you'll see that now I have Origin 102, whereas I did not have it there before. And so I can synchronize my data with many controls. I can assign users, I can assign progress, I can say how far along we are, I can give access privileges. As you can see, I can put pictorial references on these things so that I know what I'm talking, know which project represents what. So Trimble Connect the idea here is not to teach you about it, but to let you know that it's there and it's an available resource. File Explorer. I showed you earlier where the data resides, but to go there and actually browse to this location on the C drive, program data, blah, 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 is not so easy. And it's much easier if you just use the built-in File Explorer, which takes you there automatically. So I go to Job Data, File Explorer, and instead of having to have to go look for where my data is, this will take me directly to it in my Windows interface. If I'm on Android, within my Android Files interface, and it will get me into the location that I might need, say to load a geoid file, to add point file, etc. I can also add this as a function key or as a favorite so that I have easy access. Here you can see I'm using the arrow keys to move where it is as far as which key it's assigned to. So File Explorer is a nice feature that is used by a lot of people quite often, I think. The map screen. This is really the main working page of the software. Here you can see a bunch of points, you can see a road alignment, you can see a scale for elevation. Let's see what else the map page can do. Okay, so here I'm in a select mode. I can select by clicking on individual items, as you see I'm doing here. Okay, I can window an area and it will pick all of those things. If I've not selected the right things, I can clear the selection by doing a right mouse click. This, just like all other map screens you've ever worked on, the hand moves things around. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. Pretty self-explanatory. However, if I click that little gray triangle box, then it makes that icon permanently active until I select something else. So now I'm zoomed out and I don't have to re-click on that, and it will keep that highlighted as indicated by being yellow. Here's the Zoom Extents button, the 3D viewer, so I can actually go and move things around in a 3D sense. Pretty powerful. Here I've got a variety of views that I can look at. There's the plan view, top. I kind of like the ISO view is one of my favorites as far as the way it renders the data. Go back to plan view. Here's my layer manager. Here are some settings that I can add. Quite a few settings here. So if I want to hide or view various things, maybe I don't want the point numbers, maybe I do want the point numbers, maybe I want to see elevations or I don't. All of my map display choices are pretty much offered under the settings button here, which is behind those three dots. I've got pan to point, pan to here. I've got a CAD toolbar. So if I've got some line work in there, I can do a variety of CAD features. Here are my snaps. We covered those a couple of weeks ago at our previous one. And here's my layer manager where I can actually turn on and off things that are available and visible. These are scalable columns that there are no descriptions within this file that I've got, so I can shrink it down to nothing. I can see how many elements of each feature are in, and it's a live update so that I can see exactly what's being affected by turning things on or off. In this case right here, Earth is visible but not selectable, right? If I click on it again, it is selectable. Now it's not visible. We've got those three phases. You see my line work goes away and comes back just by turning on and off layers, and you can see again how many features are in or how many points are in each layer. I've also got other filters that I can apply. I don't need to read these for you, but there's a huge number of filters and feature filters that are available to allow you to see just the data you want and hide the data you don't want. Here I've got a map file, so this is the RXL that I brought in originally. I've got my point file. Point file is not visible, it's actually a duplication, so that's why I've got it turned off right now. See that you've got the ability to scale in or out the textual part of this. I want to select a point here and right mouse click, I get a certain, so I can stake out to that point. If I select 2 points now, I've got more options than just stake out the point. I can make it into a line and stake the line. I can compute an inverse or an average, right? As I select, I've got 2 points selected now. If I select a third point, my options change again. Now I could actually create a layer, right? So I could create a surface, I could calculate volumes. So it's very much dependent upon the number of selections that you make from the map screen as far as what that right mouse click offers you in terms of what you want to do with the data. Here I think I hit the select key, window out a portion of the software, right mouse click, and now you can see that I can stake out all of those items. Because there's a roadway in there, it does not give me the option to do a surface there. If I select a smaller portion, again, I've got the roadway in there, so it does not allow me to create a surface. If I create a section that does not include the roadway, just multiple points, and I right mouse click, now you can see I'm able to create a surface or calculate volumes by doing that. Give the surface a name, and you can see that Origin then creates a surface based on those points right there. Pretty powerful. I can turn that on and off. That's now under my layer manager, so I can view it or not, and you can see exactly which points are involved and actually see the triangles. Another part of the software, you can actually define opacity of that as well. Roads. So here you can see a simple road that I've built here on this data set. My rover is on the road somewhere, and I'm going to go from general survey into the roads module. So going into the roads module gives me separate options from what I have in the general survey, right? So now I can define my road. The road can be an XML file, it can be Genio. Most popular is probably going to be the RXL, which is what I've brought in. Sorry about that, my IT department is trying to help me with that. So here are the components of the road that you saw or see on the map screen. I can do a drive-through. It's pretty nice. Actually allows me to see what the road looks like in a 3D kind of drive-through sense. Here you can see I can edit the road, horizontal alignments, vertical alignments, templates, super elevations, widening, station equations, etc. Again, this is a very simple road, but I'm allowed to go in and edit these items. My point today is not to teach you how to build a road inside Origin, but more to let you know how to get into the road module, which is a paid upgrade on the software. If you want to be able to build roads, most people are not going to build roads on the data collectors. They're going to build roads inside their favorite software on the desktop. I can do a report. The report will print out in HTML. It's readable by any web browser. I can stake out the road. That's typically what we're going to do, right? I was going to do road stakeout. Which road? We're doing the Biella 2018. How do I want to stake the road? I get a number of options as far as how I want the road to be staked out. Staked out. What my station interval is. Again, if you're not sure, for instance, construction offsets horizontal, you can go up to the hamburger up there in the top left, go down to help, and it will describe everything that's on this page in front of you. Here I'm staking out a particular station, 0 + 20. Gives me information about where I'm at in relation to that. Where I need to go, what my cut and fill is, etc. So I'm staking right now the center line, spring center line. How do I get there? And that's road staking. Mentioned it earlier, inside the system files folder, whether it's Android or Windows, you have these various files, either s.sty, which are my styles, or .jot, which are my templates. And as demonstrators, for instance, I'm a demonstrator, there are times where I've created all of these. Maybe I want to just go back to the defaults. So I can close the software, browse in my system to these locations and delete everything. And if I delete all of these .jot files and all of these .sty files, the next time Origin opens, it will recreate the defaults. Coding. Coding is quite extensive and powerful. When we collect our points, many times we want to put a code, and the code can do things such as create line work or allow your inside office person to know what to do with a particular layer of the software. So here I've turned off survey control. I've got my Biella 2018 file showing or not showing right there. And here you can see I've got these points, like 215 and 112 next to each other. And I know that there should be a line connecting all of those 111 files, but they're not. And I don't know why. So here, this job was done with Survey Pro. And inside Survey Pro, I had a feature code called EP. And EP is what allowed me to string those together. And in today's software, I could go in there and I could edit the codes. And I could say, okay, it's not EP, it's EPMT, because that's what the current code list has, right? But I want to use EP. I don't want to use EPMT. So Origin is quite powerful in that I can actually go in and edit this feature code library so that I can add EP to my list, right? So I go to settings, go to my feature library, and I say edit. I want to edit this list, right? And there it is right there in my system files folder. I'm going to edit the list and I'm going to add a code, right? Right now, I don't have EP, I have EPMT, right? Where's my EP? EP is not there, and that's why my line's not being created there. So I'll add it. It's a line feature, edge of pavement, just like that other one. What layer do I want it to go on? What color do I want it to be? Right? Let's make it a nice, pretty color. Solid line, dashed line. And then I hit accept. And now you can see I've got both codes, EP and EPMT. And if I go back to my map screen, now you can see that I've actually created that second set of lines that should have connected all of the 112s together. And so now I have both my EP and my BC line. And I didn't need to use the feature definition editor that I have on my PC. I was able to do that on board. Here's my measure points. And of course, when I measure points, I get the option to attach a code, right? I think every survey software in the world has this choice, right? But there are other choices within Origin that we have as well. So if I go to measure, I have this ability to measure codes specifically, and this is powerful. So here I can assign both buttons and numeric values to various layers, and each layer can have its own set of codes. So if I'm doing water utilities, I've got a 3x3 format. 6 of the keys have been identified and defined, and 3 have not. Let's create a new group. Call it Janus. It's a blank template. I've got 9 elements there, right? Maybe I only want 6 elements. And now you can see these little special characters that indicate I'm doing cross-sectioning, right? Which way do I want to do the cross-section? I want to go back and forth in a zigzag, and which is the way it's set up right now, right? So I can work my way around a cross-section. I'm obviously just doing this for didactic purposes here. And what this allows me to do is not only have 6 elements in my cross-section, but an additional 3 buttons that are not part of that cross section, so that as I run across that odd fire hydrant or that odd survey control point, I can collect those with, say, points, codes 1, 2, or 3, while I can do the cross sections with numbers 6 through 9. Right, and then as I go through, it will automatically work its way through the sequence. In this case, zigzag, as you can see, as I've said there, or as I've indicated there. And again, if I need help with this page, all I have to do is go to the help menu, and it will give me help on that page. So that's feature coding. Sounds. I love this, and I hope this works. So I'm going to play the before, and I bet any of you that have used the software have heard this, right? So let's play it. Did you guys hear that? Initialization has been gained. So that's this file right here. It's inside the sounds, underneath the languages. And so initialization has been gained. When I get a fixed solution, the software calls out this file to be played. And that's this one here. I changed it with an underscore, and I replaced it with another noise on the same file. And this is the way my software sounds now when I get a fixed solution. So I would like you to extend that to languages. These sounds are all in English. There is no Portuguese, there is no Spanish, there actually is a French language here. So these can be customized. And as I've done here, I changed this to an applause. So when I get a fixed solution, the software gives me an applause versus initialization has been gained. And these are all fully customizable. You just need a wave creator, .wave creator. As I mentioned earlier, the most amount of resource, the most amount of money, the most amount of time, investment, as far as keeping the software help up to date is in the help section. It's not put into a user manual, it's not put into YouTube's, it's not put into application notes, although all of those exist. Most of the resources put into the help menu. You can see up here at the top, I've put a big red box around the location. It's on your computer, it's installed if you have the emulator installed. Every installation, as long as you have a language pack installed, will have this help menu. Review job, I think I'm running a little bit behind time. We'll see where this goes. Review job, up again underneath the menu, job data. We can go into the review job, and this is the working section of the software. If I busted an HR or an HA or an HI and I need to fix that, this is where I go to do it. Everything is connected so that if I have a busted HR and I go and change it where I busted it at, it will then update all the subsequent HRs to the next point and allow me to see what those changes are going to be and allow me to select what those changes will be as well. I can go in here, let's say for instance that my HR, my height of antenna was incorrect. I can hit the edit button, I can come in here and edit that. So this is the equivalent inside Survey Pro of view, edit raw data. And again, it's all connected together with point dependencies. Actual observations cannot be adjusted, but everything else can be, right? Just let you see what this looks like. Scale factor, maybe I need to change this. Bottom notch versus true height. You guys know about that on the Focus 35. That there is a height hook, a height notch that you can measure to, and then we verticalize it and we provide the offset to the trunnion axis there. It's a direct reflex measurement, so obviously there is no HR. And that's review job. Prisms and antennas, I don't think this is very complicated at all, but I can click up here. I'm in the total station mode. I can click in this icon here. I have one target defined, one prism that is defined, plus my direct reflex parameters. If I'm always going to be on the same prism pole, I can change that HA or height of reflector. And here you can see that there are different places to measure to depending upon the prism. I can add prisms here. I've got a default target height can always be changed. If I'm going to do integrated survey, what is that difference between the height of the reflector and the height of the GPS antenna? And I can define that in a permanent sense there. So that's 30 centimeters as indicated here. What do I want to call this parameter? This is going to be a Spectra 360 prism. And then what is the offset? So I'm showing you what the target height is, the prism height is, then plus the offset to a GPS antenna. If I choose to do the integrated survey, it will automatically then adjust for that. If I switch over to GPS here, you can see that based on the 1.8 HR, I now have a 2.1 HA, and that's because of the offset that I defined there earlier. You can see the true height. I can't emphasize or overemphasize enough the importance of getting the correct antenna selected within your survey style. There can be 11 centimeters of difference at least between various models of antennas when it comes to the actual phase center versus antenna reference point. So it's important that you get the correct antenna model chosen so that Origin can accurately define that what we call phase center variation, PCV, which is changing all day long, going up and down by 11 or more centimeters all day long, every day. So I've talked about this before. And here again, when I'm doing the integrated survey, this is where I define my offset between the prism and the GPS antenna.
Joe, we have a question kind of relevant to this part of the presentation. They want to know if the end user can configure the comms parameters to connect to any total station or GNSS receiver within survey styles.
No, there is a generic output that's available where if your GPS will accept an NMEA input and that's all it needs to work, then you can do that. But otherwise, it's pretty well locked down to the Spectra geospatial instrumentation. And I think that I think that there may be a purchase option that I'm not aware of officially yet that allows instruments, the yellow Trimble instruments to also be activated. Stakeout. I know I covered Stakeout last week, but I must have felt like it was important enough to go over again. So here, I'm going to stake out points, line, polygons, arcs, etc. I'm going to stake out a point, and I have no points here to stake out, right? So I can create a list, but I can go and insert an individual point, say, yes, I want to stake that point out. It's going to give me directions to it. I can also have the instrument turn automatically to the point if I'm using a total station. That's very convenient. If I've got the track lights on as a rod man, I can simply walk until I see line via the track lights. Right here down under instrument and servo robotic is where I can control whether or not the instrument turns to my stake point or not. Do I want this to be an automatic robotic turn? Do I want the perspective to be instrument oriented or survey oriented, rodman oriented? Do I want to turn vertical angles as well as the horizontal angle? So a lot of these controls are configured under this options key that you see. What target am I using? What prism constant am I using? Do I want to be in a tracking mode? Do I want to be in a standard mode? Do I want to use direct reflex? Do I want to use prism? So up top, you can see by the instrument indication, I'm in direct reflex mode. And I'm also in a tracking mode because the instrument, the beam was going out consistently. So here, what points do I want to stake? I've got a lot of different options on how I want to choose the points that are going to be staked. In my mind, I love Survey Pro, but in my mind, this is a huge advantage that we didn't really have in Survey Pro, to have this type of filtering as far as what I want to go out and stake out. So here I said I want to stake out BC. And you can see now all of the BCs are highlighted, put in a list, and I can go and stake them out. And again, I think that's a pretty powerful feature of the software. Again, because I'm using a robot, you see that the go right, go left is 0 because the instrument has turned to line already. It's waiting there on line, and now it's just a matter of finding the distance in and out on that. How do I want to name them? I've again got a lot of different options as far as how I want to name the points that I'm staking. I also have choices as far as which point I want to stake. So here you can see the instrument is turned to a closest one, or the nearest point. So lots of different ways that I can stake out. And closest point is 1.8 meters away. The instrument is turned fully online, showing you the horizontal angle right there. So I can do a lot of things with these points that I'm going to stake. I can clear the list, I can create a volumes, I can create a surface, etc. I'm happy with it. I'm going to change this design elevation if I need to. Remove points from my list if I don't want it there. Turn to a point if I want it to. You can see that just by clicking on the point, the instrument will turn to the point as long as I have the servo robotics turned on. Right? So lots of different stakeout options here. Pictures. So this picture that you see here was taken on my iPhone. My iPhone is not related to Origin at all. I was running Origin on my Dell laptop, and Origin was open and running. I took this picture with my iPhone, and what do you know? All of a sudden it shows up inside this media file folder on inside Origin. So it says, what do you want to do with this photo? Do you want to attach it to the previous point? Want to attach to the next point? I said, no, attach to the previous point, right? So now if I go into review job, I can see this image file right there, right? What I really like about this is that I now have the ability to do additional things. Maybe I want to highlight something in this photo, right? It's attached to a point already, but I want to highlight the fact that this is an SP60 and that's the SP60. So Origin allows me to draw. It allows me to insert labels, right? So I can say SP60. I can move that label around if I want. So just to be clear, this is an SP60. I'm going to move it where you can see it. Maybe I want to accentuate the box. I want to put a big red box around the whole image, make it red, make the line width heavy, right? So now I can go over here and select the rectangle tool. Again, this is a pretty powerful part of the software that we did not have any ability anywhere close to this inside Survey Pro, and we do in Origin. I can change the point that it's linked to. You say, no, don't link it to that point, link it to this point, right? I'm not going to change it, I don't think, but you see that I have that ability to do so. Actually, I think I do change it to my base station. Accept. And now you can see that it's been linked. Well, you can't see it yet, but you will see. There is the media file that is now linked to RTCM 1111. So picture is pretty powerful stuff. Instruments. That's under, again, this what they call the hamburger key, is where you have your instrument main settings. You have your toolbar up here that brings you to the same features, depending upon if you're in total station or GNSS. You see here that all of these have stars next to them, so I can assign them to be favorites we talked about earlier. I'm given these set of choices because I'm in a total station mode. If I were in a GPS mode, I would be given a different set of choices here under the instrument functions. If I have these little gray boxes, let me go back just a little bit and show you these gray boxes again. So here you can, sorry, do that again, hit pause. Right here, I've got a gray box under a gray triangle, and that means that there are additional configuration options available to me if I press and hold there. So that's what I'm doing here. I press and hold under there, and now I get my actual target controls. This is, again, where you control like the horizontal and vertical sweep, the predictive time. These are the EDM tracking settings, exactly as we had in Survey Pro, but in a different location. Auto lock. Do I want it to automatically lock? Do I want it to, when it sees a prism, do I want it to automatically lock onto it? Do I want my track lights on? I had a colleague of mine calculate the track light usage as far as battery. It's like 6 minutes a day. So you take off 6 minutes of battery life in a day by leaving the track lights on all day. Track lights are a rod man's best friend, right? The joystick control, how fast do I want it to go? I'm in a Ranger 7, I can use my spider key to do that. It's telling me about my data link, my height of antenna. Again, a lot of my instrument controls, I'm in a GPS mode now. They are on that top key bar, or top toolbar right there. You can see it was a pretty hot day. That equates to about 50 degrees Celsius, I think, which is approaching the limits of the receiver, but there was no problem with it even at that temperature. Here you can look at the raw data files inside the receiver and download those. You can delete files, so it's kind of like a file manager, not just an import feature of the receiver. End your survey, receiver status, position. Under position, you can see both the current position of the rover or the position of the base. You can store either one. You can define what type of coordinates you want to be viewing, whether global, ECEF. In fact, I don't know of another software that actually allows me to see ECEF coordinates. I was very impressed with that. I didn't know that I was minus in the X and the Y in Southern California. So very powerful feature of the software.
Joe, in addition to the ECEF, does Origin support Cartesian XYZ as well as the ITRF and residuals?
I'm not sure what, to me, ECEF is the same as Cartesian XYZ. So I'm not really sure what we're talking about as far as a difference there. In the ITRF, that is a function not of the display, but of the coordinate system that's being defined, right? So if we go to Origin, got Origin open right here. I don't have Origin open. Oh, there it is. Templates, edit. So here I've got my coordinate system, and this is actually where I would need to look at this. And you can see that inside a large database, and some of these actually, I'm sorry, let me go back here. Let me get out of here. If I go here, you can see that I've got different realizations, shall we call it, and some of these are the ITRF realizations. And you can see the reference epoch is cited here. And if it were ITRF, it would say it right here under the global reference epoch. In the scope of this webinar, I'd rather take this offline and come back to it with the individual that's asking that to be more specific. So coordinate systems, I think I'm getting close to the end. I know that I'm approaching the end of my time slot here. So I wanted to highlight these three right here before I move on. I show you where the geoid models go. If you want to use a geoid model, which I strongly recommend for just about everything. Certain parts of the world provide a broadcast RTCM. That's not very common in North America yet, or South America. And then basically scale factor only is for total station, and no projection, no datum is for GPS, where you have no knowledge of the local coordinates. Here, under coordinate systems, if we want to use either the key-in parameters or select from library, you can come down here under our templates. We can edit any one of these templates. It's all going to show a coordinate system setting for these. So if I come in under the coordinate system dialog here, select from library, scale factor only, we talked about that, right? So that's for total station measurement only. Some local areas will have a defined scale factor, and you can key it in here if you want. I can create a new one. So here, if I go under coordinate systems and I select, what am I going to do? Select from library. This is where I have the complete coordinate system database from Trimble. This is hundreds and hundreds of coordinate systems that have been defined and proven on the ground. I think it represents the largest single database of coordinate systems. Here you can see the ITRF, for instance, parameters that was asked about earlier. We've got all of the zones within these different systems, got different realizations within these systems. It's a continental US Moldavsky. We're going to use the Geoid model. The Geoid model is available in this drop-down list because I preloaded it to that software directory I talked about earlier. When you're doing this, the project needs to have a height. I'm not sure if this is as designed, but if I change that parameter right there, I then get the here button. And by pressing here, I'm able to use the GPS to pull in a project elevation. I can go back to my grid scale factor, or my grid, California State Plane Zone 6, and I've now pulled in an actual reading from the GNSS as far as my project height by using the base station's elevation. Right, and then the final one is if I key in the parameters. Key in parameters assumes that I know everything here. So what my projection I'm going to use, if I'm going to have a datum transformation, is there a horizontal or vertical adjustment from that datum transformation? So I can come in here. This is, again, the parameters for California Zone 6. And I could have keyed these in. In fact, I did key these in, which is why they're here now. And if I'm going to use a grid shift, which some areas do, once I've defined the projection, I can then say, is there a datum transformation, which usually involves the translation XYZ. In my case, there is no datum transformation. I have no horizontal adjustment. The plane is the plane. And then if I want, I can use my geoid model, which is what I've done in this keyed in parameter system. If I had other geoid models, I would be able to choose those from the drop-down list you just saw. So that's the technical part. Getting back to the support side, I showed these slides 2 weeks ago. Looks like I'm barely on time here. I'm going to fly by these next 3 or 4 slides. We have written a transition guide. It says, if Survey Pro did it this way, this is the way Origin does it this way. And we've gotten good feedback so far on this transition guide, and it is posted to our website. We've also developed an Origin help portal. It's got videos, it's got application notes, it's got how-tos, it's got a lot of different things, as you can see here. It's got links to the downloads to the installation manager, to the software, and that's on our website. Through the help portal, there are these tutorials available. The session that I did 2 weeks ago has already been posted to YouTube, so it's a public video that anybody can watch. This video that we're doing, or this webinar that we're doing right now, will also be posted to YouTube. You know, designed for today, built for tomorrow. We needed a platform that allowed us to do things like scanning and photogrammetry and IFCs and DWG. We didn't have that in Survey Pro, and that's why we came out with Origin. It's really our next step in moving forward. We've gotten good feedback so far from beta users who have seen the software now for a couple of months. versus a couple of weeks, as you guys in the audience are. And upgrade to Origin. I mean, right now we're offering really good deals for current users of Survey Pro. They're in warranty. You can go into Origin at no charge. So please, I encourage you to give it a try. And that's it. And wow, right to the minute on time. So we'll open it up for the next minute and a half for questions. Thank you very much.
Actually, Joe, there's a couple here. Is the emulator compatible with new Windows 11?
Should be, yes.
Okay. And Rhinex 3.05 import and export supported?
To my knowledge, Origin has nothing to do with Rhinex. Rhinex is a completely separate topic. It's handled with other softwares.
Okay.
For instance, let me just, so you see I've got a Trimble utility, Trimble yellow, called Convert to Rhinex, and then I've got a Spectra Geospatial blue utility called Rhinex Converter. So depending upon if I'm coming from a yellow receiver or a blue receiver, I'm going to use one of these two utilities to convert that raw data to Rhinex. And within these converters are the abilities to choose which version of Rhinex you want to convert to. Right, so here you can see I go up to version 3.02 with this Rhinex utility. Rhinex has been a moving target. They've come out with several updates in the past year alone. There's so many new constellations and new signals in space that the Rhinex community, which is the IGS, has been struggling to keep up. Furthermore, when you look at older legacy versions like 2.11 and you compare it to version 3.05, it's night and day. I mean, there's almost no similarity. So the formattings have been changed dramatically. And as I said, this utility, I'm not sure if I'm up to date at version 4.7.2, but as far as that goes, I'm compatible up to version 3.02 of Rhinex.
Okay, and one last question here, Joe. Does Origin have the 3 levels of confidence, 68, 95, and 99%?
So again, if we go into looking at the styles, right? And if I go into rover options, for instance, that's not it. Topo point, for instance, these are my levels of quality control, and I assume that those relate to those percentages. I cannot say with confidence that I'm correct though. These are defined. If I were to go here and go to help, I can then see what these various levels apply to. And again, within the context of this webinar, I can't go into that detail right now, but I would assume that that's what this means.
Okay, Joe, that's it for questions. I want to thank everybody for attending. If you have any additional questions, by all means, get in touch with your regional manager. Also, yes?
Yeah, I mean,
if you're not
our dealer channels.
Yeah, if you're not receiving the Spectra Geospatial sales bulletins, please contact the regional manager and we'll get you on the list. All we need is your email and your just your ask. It comes out quite frequently with updates for price lists and webinars and new product announcements, all sorts of stuff that's vitally important. So if you're not on that list, please just send your regional manager your request to get on there. We'll get you on there. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for attending. Joe Sass, thank you very much. Pete Mestermaker, thank you very much as well. And we look forward to seeing everybody on our next webinar. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. Bye.